folks, we all know ongoing road construction and traffic can weigh heavy on your vehicle. Since 2006, O'Leary's Automotive Repair has provided comprehensive repair services at affordable prices to get you back on the road in no time. Their ASE certified technicians will help you find a cost-effective repair and maintenance alternatives. O'Leary's has multiple locations in the area in Hampstead, Leland, the Myrtle Grove area, Ogden, and Wrightsboro. O'Leary's Automotive Repair, a trusted, locally owned business since 2006.
And here's a good note for us to end on. A dog swam several miles to shore after she fell off the back of a shrimp boat in San Leon, Texas. The canine named Mr. Monster regularly joins her owner, Captain Keith Kiwi Softs, on his shrimp boat, but fell overboard on a recent outing. We were just heading back to the dock. Monster was doing her regular old thing she always does, he told KRIV. Goes back there and barks at the birds, does monster things. We got to where we were going to load the nets and put it at the back of the boat to come home, and she always goes back there, grabs the nets, and starts pulling on it, and then she wasn't there, the owner said. As soon as Softs realized his dog was missing and must have fallen off the boat in open water, he set out to find her. I said, "Where's she at?" And in the middle of the bay, pretty much. I mean, open water, 4 or 5 miles out of any land. My heart just fell. I couldn't even speak. We were going to find her. I looked up and down the coast. Unfortunately, Softs didn't locate Monster and decided to share the story of the missing dog on social media. Don't worry, though. Long story short, 5 days went by, and I started posting more and more and more. And I was like, she couldn't have made it in that kind of a swim. There's no way a dog swam that far. After searching the neighborhood, Soch found his beloved pet at a nearby trailer park. The lady mentioned, "I was crying so hard I couldn't even talk. She was giving me so many kisses. I think she swam. I think her swimming every day saved her life. Just her being on the boat, being used to the water." Pretty cool story. Good looking dog, kind of a pit mix. That beautiful gray collar they get. You can look it up. It's linked in the show notes. That'll do it for Heard Tell for today. Thank you for joining us wherever you are across the street or around the world. Sure appreciate it. Don't forget you can reach out to us at heardtellshow@gmail.com, at heardtellshow on the Twitter. We'd love to hear from you, and we appreciate you so very much paying attention, listening, giving us the most precious thing you have, your time. And we thank you very much for it. So until we talk to you again, we hope you and yours are well. We hope you're well fed. We'll talk again real soon on Heard Tell.
All the music on Heard Tell is provided under a Creative Content license from monstercat.com.
Bringing you the best local talk radio shows, Wilmington's Big Talker 106.7 FM, WFBT, Carolina Beach.
When I tell people I'm a collision repair technician, they usually say, "Can I get your number?" Sooner or later, they're going to need me. I'm the guy who you call when you had a fender bender, who takes your mangled car and brings it back to its former glory. I absolutely love what I do. I trained at CFCC and had job offers waiting on me when I finished. I make great money and can work anywhere. People rely on me. That's a good feeling. I got my start at CFCC, and you can too. Visit cfcc.edu/trades and get started today.
Here's 1 minute of tree knowledge in 30 seconds with K.O. Davis.
It's important that you have somebody, a trained professional, to trim your trees. There are these guys out there that just hack trees, and that's the worst thing in the world that you can do. Don't let somebody hat rack your trees. That's tree term for hat rack. You know how they just cut a tree and it looks like it's just got like a hat rack? These guys just go up and just cut the trees off, and they don't cut it back to the proper spot. Call us, because we care about your trees.
Visit KO's coasttocoasttree.com.
Don't let some yahoo hat rack your trees.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. In Bladen County, an argument at a graduation party led to a shooting. According to the Bladen County Sheriff's Office, just before midnight Friday, 2 people arrived at the hospital with gunshot wounds. Eric Clancy died of his injuries, and Ronkira Lennon was released from the hospital. As the investigation continues, officers ask anyone with information to contact the Bladen County Sheriff's Office. Recent mass shootings in Buffalo, New York, and Uvalde, Texas, have many people pushing for change across the nation, including in the Cape Fear region. In Brunswick County, a group called Southport Indivisible held a rally on Saturday in Franklin Square Park. The March for Our Lives rally put out a call to action to people all over the country to end gun violence. And in New Hanover County, more than 200 people attended a rally put together by Women Organizing for Wilmington, or WOW. The event featured singers, speakers, and victims of gun violence. It was a celebration of love in every shape this weekend, according to Dock Street's Pride Party event organizers. The annual celebration benefiting Port City Pride was held at the Husk in collaboration with the New Anthem Beer Project, the Opera House Theater Company, and Duck and Dive. For the first time, a section of Dock Street was closed this weekend to accommodate DJs and local performers. And hundreds of people turned out for the second annual Leland Hurricane Expo, held at the town's Cultural Arts Center on Saturday. Crowds filled the building to learn more about hurricane preparedness this season. The event featured speakers, as well as several exhibits about insurance, flood zones, and other important weather topics, and included an appearance by members of the WWAY weather team. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Monday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Get ready for a hot one here in the Cape Fear. We have heat advisories going into effect starting at noon, lasting until 7, and that's because we're going to be dealing with heat index values exceeding the triple digits the second half of the day. So find ways to stay cool today. Along the immediate coastline, we will be slightly cooler, temperatures climbing into the upper 80s and the lower 90s as well. As for tonight, warm and muggy conditions will stick around as our overnight lows drop down into the upper 70s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Well, I never felt more like singing a blues, 'cause I never thought that I'd ever lose your love, dear. Why'd you do me this way?
MusicRewind.com presents the Nashville Hitmakers, a collection of 60 songs that helped inspire the Nashville sound movement in the 1950s.
She thinks I still care.
Billy, Billy, Bio, watch where you go.
Order the Nashville Hitmakers at MusicRewind.com or call 855-798-5556 today and pay only $19.98. Plus, get reduced shipping. Just enter or mention promo code HITS55. Go to MusicRewind.com or call 855-798-5556. Remember Hits 55 to save on shipping. This offer is available for a limited time to U.S. residents only and cannot be combined with any other offer.
Enjoying Big Talker Network is as easy as asking for it. Program your digital home assistants such as Google Home, Alexa, and Siri to stream Big Talker Network content by simple voice command. Enjoy convenient hands-free access to program whenever you want, however you want by asking for Big Talker.
Hey, welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. Right here on the Big Talker Network, bigtalker.live. Please visit the website, download the app for Android and iOS devices, and peruse our schedule of content to cover all of our shows right here on the Big Talker. You'll love it. It's a way of life. Yeah, what else can you say? There it is. The door is now closed and locked, and you are now locked into the asylum. You have no choice. You are here. And, I had a bit of a vacation over the last couple of days. And, well, I still worked. It wasn't like I went anywhere. It would have been nice, go to the Grand Bahamas or something. Give me something to do. It's really weird. Check 1, 2. So why is it all bleeding back? It's really strange. Should not be doing that. Huh. All of them. That's really strange. Anyway, I don't have to worry about that, though. I have much more stuff going on. In fact, I have a couple of news stories that maybe I'm the only one who considers them to be related. So I will start with one, prefacing it by where I'm going with the other, and then back, okay? So one of the most famous chocolate companies on the planet is known as Hershey's. It was started where? Oh, yeah, Hershey, Pennsylvania. How's that? Okay. Well, coming out of UPI, Ben Hooper is reporting that a Colorado town is considering changing its name to Kush. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this happened on my birthday, or it was written on my birthday. Mike Biggio, co-founder of Moffett-based Area 420, a 420-acre business park that hosts 70 cannabis-growing operations and marijuana-based businesses, proposed that the Moffat, I don't know, M-O-F-F-A-T Board of Trustees rename the town to a slang term for marijuana that is found in the names of several popular strains. To quote Mr. Biggio, "I'm looking to establish this as a world-renowned cannabis region," he told the Denver Post of his proposal for the town of about 100 residents. Biggio presented his proposal to the Board of Trustees at Tuesday night's meeting. The board is expected to vote on the suggestion at a later date. Moffat Mayor Cassandra Fox, with 2 X's, signaled she would be in favor of the name change. "Change is always good," Fox said. "The most dangerous phrase is we've always done it this way. That's the death of society." That's pretty funny. But like I said, Hershey's started in Hershey, Pennsylvania. It's not like it was Podunk, Pennsylvania that they renamed to Hershey after the chocolate was made, right? Hey, speaking of chocolate, oh, you thought I was kidding. This is in Pennsylvania. Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania. 2 workers fall into a chocolate tank at the Mars facility in Pennsylvania, as reported by Joshua Rhett Miller from the New York Post. Oh, fudge! 2 employees at a Mars food processing plant in Pennsylvania needed to be rescued after they fell into a tank of chocolate Thursday, according to reports. That was not me, by the way. It was my birthday. It was 420. No, it was not me in the vat of chocolate. Let's see. Thursday would have been my birthday, so yeah, that's when it happened. The pair fell waist deep into a tank at the Candy Giants facility in Elizabethtown just before 2 p.m., PennLive.com reported. Citing Lancaster County dispatchers, the chocolate-coated victims weren't hurt, but couldn't get out of the tank on their own, dispatchers told the outlet. They were identified as workers at the facility by WHP-TV. A spokesman for Mars confirmed that rescue efforts were underway Thursday afternoon. "We can confirm both people have been taken off-site for further evaluation. We're extremely grateful for the quick work of first responders," the statement provided the Post. A statement provided to the Post said, I'm new at reading. This English stuff is not easy. "A man who answered the phone at the facility on Brown Street said he had no additional information to provide." "I don't know anything," he told the Post before abruptly hanging up. "Look, we got other things to do. All right? They got a job. Leave them alone." "I don't know anything." Mars produces some of the most iconic treats at its factories, including M&M, Snickers, Skittles, Mars. It's unclear what brand was connected to the incident. Talk about a Dunkin'. That's a sweet way to start the Monday, don't you think? Well, what it was, right, they came from the meeting about Kush, changing the name of the town to Kush over there in Denver, and went back to work at the chocolate factory at 420 and fell right in because they just, never trust a skinny cook, right? So if you can't sample the product you're making, I don't know. Maybe they need a vacation as well. But, you know, if you're going to chocolate dip yourself, that's the way to do it, in an entire vat of chocolate in the, well, how far is that from Hershey would be my question. But that'd be funny, right? The two guys falling into a vat of chocolate, voting on what would be the best name for their new town, or the best new name for their old town. There we go. Come on, load up. Internet slow. Internet slow. We got some whack people happening here. This one I'm a little nervous to share with you. Just know that ahead of time, all right? Coming from people.com. Texas City needs help identifying a strange figure spotted near the zoo. Definitely chupacabra. Commenters poked fun at the city of Amarillo's social media post about the odd sighting, coming up with silly suggestions of what the creature could be. A city in Texas is asking the public for help after a local zoo spotted something strange hanging outside its fences. On Wednesday, the city of Amarillo, Texas, shared a news release and a Facebook post with a photo of a bizarre figure asking the community for help identifying the site. The Amarillo Zoo captured a strange image outside the zoo in the dark and early morning hours of May 21, around 1:25 in the morning. Amarillo's social media post read, Is it a person with a strange hat who likes to walk at night? A chupacabra? Do you have any idea what this UAO? That would be unidentified Amarillo object could be. The commentators on the post poked fun at all the possibilities. Clearly a young werewolf, not a big deal, one person wrote on Facebook. Definitely chupacabra, yep, said another. A chupacabra, of course. I grew up with the chupacabra. It's a mythical monster rumored to suck blood from livestock. The first reported sightings of this cryptid, I like that word, came from Puerto Rico, according to National Geographic. In almost all cases of reported chupacabra sightings, the incidents have turned out to be run-ins with coyotes suffering from severe mange. Well, that's an option, except it's walking, bipedal. We just want to let the Amarillo community have some fun with this. Let's see, Michael Kashuba. The city of Amarillo's director of Parks and Recreation said in a statement obtained by People, it is important to note that this entity was outside the Amarillo Zoo. There were no signs of attempted entry into the zoo. No animals or individuals were harmed. There were no signs of criminal activity or vandalism. The image the city of Amarillo shared of the figure is fuzzy at best and shows something standing outside a fence. It's definitely a strange and interesting image. Maybe Amarillo can help solve the mystery of our UAO. And it's very probably a prank. Or, if anybody's familiar with the Walk of Shame, that could be part of it, because there is a lot more stuff on the upper part of the body than there is on the lower part of the body. So, yeah. Not chupacabra. But he's a fun story to tell your kids at night if they're not terrified already. Oh, yeah, there's lots of things happening in the news, and you can go elsewhere to get that. I've already said my piece on guns, and this whole January 6th thing should never have been allowed to happen in the first place. I think the entire thing should have been shut down before it even got anywhere, If I'm having an event and I see the erection of a gallows, I'm ending the event right then, right there. Right? I mean, that should be the new rule. If there's any violent rhetoric from the people and their placards, that's a good time to just end it. Show's over. Go home. So many other things, too. It's like, yeah, we have nothing to do with that. That's There are smart people that have better opinions on that than I do. In fact, I should check in with one of them this morning and see if he doesn't have something to add to the conversation. Hey, I'm going to just check in here, but my computer is being difficult. Hello, computer. There we go. Oh, look. Absolutely no time has gone by. And I've already burned through most of the news stories that I wanted to present to you anyway, so yeah, this is going to be a long, fun morning for you and for me. I mean, this is re-entry for me from something of a vacation. I mean, I still worked, but, you know, this is interesting. As gas prices surge, Michigan sheriff asks deputies to manage some dispatch calls by phone. Hey, there's 5 people breaking into my apartment. Okay. Can you identify any of the intruders? No, I don't know. Another story, a lady sliced off the tattoo of her ex-boyfriend's arm and mailed it to him. I am never surprised by what the stupid people will do. How about accomplishment for accomplishment's sake? So, coming from UPI Ben Hooper again, British woman rows across the Atlantic in 40 days, breaking a world record. How's that? June 9th, again on my birthday. That's happening. A British woman broke a Guinness World Record when she rowed solo across the Atlantic Ocean in 40 days, 21 hours, and a minute. Guinness World Records announced Victoria Evans earned the record for fastest female solo row across the Atlantic on the Tradewinds 1 route open class when she rowed her boat from Tenerife, Spain to Port St. Charles, Barbados. Holy mackerel. So apparently, so many people are trying for this record that they had to subdivide it down to the fastest female solo row Tradewinds 1 route open class. That's insane. Is there an open class? Is there a restricted class, a double class? Is there a men's solo row record? Evans' time of 40 days, 21 hours, and a minute beat the previous record set by fellow Breton Kiko Matthews by 9 days. Evans' record attempt was supported by Sea Change Sport, an organization she founded and raised money for Women in Sport, a charity dedicated to making sports accessible to women. This challenge pushed me beyond anything I previously believed capable, Evans told Guinness. Gone are the days of the weaker sex. I hope this record demonstrates to all women and girls just what we are capable of. Amen. 40 days rowing, folks. Is there anything any of us can do consistently at that level for 40 days? That's over a month of solid rowing every day to get across the Atlantic Ocean from Tenerife to Barbados. I wonder what she did when she got there. Did she walk around for a minute? She couldn't shake anybody's hand. Her arms were shaking, just that had to hurt. I mean, that's a long way. It's one of those routes that the Titanic couldn't master. Of course, she was on the Southern Trade Winds. I mean, that is ridiculously specific. Tradewinds 1 route, female solo row, Trade Winds 1 route open class. Man, how many? That's just mind bending. If you think about it, right? They had to be so specific that her record is specific to the Trade Winds 1 route open class. So maybe she tries Trade Winds 3 route restricted class, but it would still be a female solo row because she's a female, she was solo, and she rode. That makes sense. Still, 40 days, right? I mean, what's his name? The dude with the boat? Noah? Yeah, Noah. Not the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration. Not them, but Noah, like NOAH, like boat guy. Right? He was in a boat for 40 days, so he had to poop in a bucket. I mean, that had to be rough, but think about it. 40 days, what do you do throughout the day? Yeah, you need to use a bucket. She's rowing. I mean, that had to be a little logistically complicated. I could be wrong, but man, that just sounds like it would be uncomfortable. And for you guys that are going to the gym and doing the row machine, shut up. You row for like 15 minutes, maybe. Right? You might like row during a Tool song, and that's about it, right? This woman, Miss Evans, Victoria Evans, rowed, R-O-W-E-D, used her arms to paddle the boat. Holy crap. For 40 days. From Spain to Barbados. That is nuts. And just below this, they have an ad of somebody pouring a bottle of Coca-Cola product, something, into the 97 plus octane only tank of a car, thinking, hey, this trick saves a ton on gas. Have fun with that. Yeah, scammer. But holy, I mean, can you imagine? I don't know what that one was about. That's their little display. I see. I'm looking at some of the pictures to see if I can't discern anything else, and no, not really. I mean, her remarkable feat is it shadows everything else. So, you know, what else can you say about that? That's, you know, what magical thing have you done? Right? Like, have you, what's the word I'm looking for? Rowed a boat, paddled a boat for 40 flippin' days. That is amazing. Wow. All right, give me a minute, and when we come back, we should have some more news for you. We'll see what happens. Oh, that's right. Where did that button go? There you are. It's that one. Yes, so don't go nowhere. The Asylum, Your Refuge in a World Gone Mad should be back after these messages. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, it could be hit by a bus. I am in my own home, so it would have to be a very errant bus. But nonetheless, I can do a little research and see if we can't, get back to you here in just a moment. So don't go nowhere. The Asylum, be right back.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. In Bladen County, an argument at a graduation party led to a shooting. According to the Bladen County Sheriff's Office, just before midnight Friday, 2 people arrived at the hospital with gunshot wounds. Eric Clancy died of his injuries, and Ronkira Lennon was released from the hospital. As the investigation continues, officers ask anyone with information to contact the Bladen County Sheriff's Office. Recent mass shootings in Buffalo, New York, and Uvalde, Texas, have many people pushing for change across the nation, including in the Cape Fear region. In Brunswick County, a group called Southport Indivisible held a rally on Saturday in Franklin Square Park. The March for Our Lives rally put out a call to action to people all over the country to end gun violence. And in New Hanover County, more than 200 people attended a rally put together by Women Organizing for Wilmington, or WOW. The event featured singers, speakers, and victims of gun violence. It was a celebration of love in every shape this weekend, according to Dock Street's Pride Party event organizers. The annual celebration benefiting Port City Pride was held at the Husk in collaboration with the New Anthem Beer Project, the Opera House Theater Company, and Duck and Dive. For the first time, a section of Dock Street was closed this weekend to accommodate DJs and local performers. And hundreds of people turned out for the second annual Leland Hurricane Expo, held at the town's Cultural Arts Center on Saturday. Crowds filled the building to learn more about hurricane preparedness this season. The event featured speakers, as well as several exhibits about insurance, flood zones, and other important weather topics, and included an appearance by members of the WWAY weather team. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Monday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Get ready for a hot one here in the Cape Fear. We have heat advisories going into effect starting at noon, lasting until 7, and that's because we're going to be dealing with heat index values exceeding the triple digits the second half of the day. So find ways to stay cool today. Along the immediate coastline, we will be slightly cooler, temperatures climbing into the upper 80s and the lower 90s as well. As for tonight, warm and muggy conditions will stick around as our overnight lows drop down into the upper 70s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
The Wilmington Cape Fear Home Builders Association serves as the advocate for the building industry, advancing professionalism and promoting community involvement. We are a positive force for responsible growth while protecting property rights and the privilege of home ownership. 3 out of every 5 jobs is touched in some manner by construction in our region. Growth generates jobs, maintains our property values, and builds and updates our infrastructure. Join us Friday mornings for the Construction Connection with the Wilmington Cape Fear Home Builders Association and the Big Talker FM.
Enjoying Big Talker Network is as easy as asking for it. Program your digital home assistants such as Google Home, Alexa, and Siri to stream Big Talker Network content by simple voice command. Enjoy convenient hands-free access to program whenever you want, however you want by asking for Big Talker.
To protect her home and family in a disaster, Karen was willing to wade through water, mud, and insurance paperwork.
Yeah, I can do this.
You go, Karen! By simply understanding and updating what her insurance covers and doesn't cover now, she'll be better prepared no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
No, I do not think it would help if I were to move the bathroom any closer. Hey, welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, right here on the Big Talker Network. Woohoo! Yeah, we're back. It's a Monday. Yeah, it was a bit of a vacation, bit of a birthday celebration, a bit of a getting away from it all and ruining other people's lives because it's fun for me, I guess. I don't know why Oh, yeah. So, yeah, we had some conversation at the door. Apparently, there's going to be some infrastructure work being done in the neighborhood. And, I got to say, when you're paying taxes to live in a city, it's not a bad thing if the city's doing stuff to make sure that you're safe. Because I really don't want to see all my possessions floating down the street. When we lived in this neighborhood a couple years ago, a good rain came through. And, it did some damage. It got up into, not the house, but well into the garage. Done a lot of damage to my parents' home up in the New Bern area. So flooding in the flooding area is, kind of important. And just like, health insurance, you have to buy different types for different things. Right, you have to buy dental insurance separate from your vision insurance, separate from your podiatric. That we have to have separate insurance, right? One for wind, one for hail, one for flood. One for acts of God. Oh, this is driving me bananas. Again. It's like trying to get comfortable in a new pair of shoes that aren't broken in yet. This is all just sort of placed here and it's working and it works well. I do want to, okay, settle down. All right. Not much on the new material, right? Topical. A lot of people are talking about this and that and the other. And the one thing I will address is the stupidity with which people apply math to gasoline prices. And someone pointed out, and I like the way he did this, that, the entire, when you buy a tank of gas, right, 1 gallon out of every gallon of gas that you buy, the government gets 18 cents. That's as much influence over the price of gas that the government has. Now, everybody's like, oh, I would really take $1 tank of gas in a mean tweet right now. Okay, see, it didn't work that way. Gasoline is a chemical that is not entirely stable. Right? You have to think about it as a liquid battery. That the components in there ignite to become mechanical energy that we move into, turn into air conditioning and moving the car forward and blinking the lights and playing your iPod or whatever else, right? So they needed to get rid of that gas before it went bad. It's like trying to sell lettuce. That stuff has to move. At that point, they were like, we just got to give this stuff away because we're backing up. We have to maintain this machinery, right? Because once you get your refinery up and running, it's not like you can really stop it. That thing's online and running. You got to keep feeding that beast. And therefore, your output has to go somewhere, and they needed to get rid of it. Therefore, they dropped the price. Not the government, not the president. The oil company said, hey, we need to get rid of this gas. So they sold it at a price that was absolutely ridiculous. And it wasn't at a loss. Don't think that don't think those $1.20 a gallon prices were at a loss. They were not. But now they've made up for it for whatever perceived losses, right? They didn't take an actual loss. Their bonus may not have been as big as it could have been. But it's not like they lost money selling gas at $1.20 a gallon. Now that they're selling it at $5 a gallon, one, will pay it. 2, there's a perceived crisis adding pressure to our consciousness. In reality, the oil company is saying, hey, we didn't make our bonus last year. The way we can make it up is to charge $5 or more a gallon throughout the summer, which is our driving season, right? We have a Christmas season, and everything's going to go retail at that point. But right now, all the oil company and anybody associated with the oil company can make their money back that they didn't get a chance to make 2 years ago. Money at this level is played across time frames of, 5-10 years. Most of us, okay, I'm not sure what the percentage is, but there's a section of our society that's barely making it paycheck to paycheck with a little bit of a budget, setting a little aside here and doing a little bit there and just managing to pay the bills. So our event horizon, for lack of a better term, is pretty slow. It's right there at the month by month. For those with a little bit more going on, they might be able to plan a vacation. So they have an event horizon for that event of about a year, especially if it's one that they, that's really important to them. Maybe it's a music festival, and maybe it's a friend's wedding in Italy, who knows? But that's the scope or the, extent of the event horizon. Everything else is still day to day. Right? They may have done the math ahead of time to say, if I set aside $50 every paycheck, right, $100 a month for the next 12 months, I'll be able to fly to Italy, stay in a hotel, and fly back. But these guys are looking at, because a lot of these companies like Go Gas and Handy Hugo and whatever else, right, these national chains, Pilot, whatever, they buy their fuel a year ahead, right? They negotiate gas prices for their stores in the millions of gallons. And they work out the price that they're going to pay ahead of time. Right? So the gas you're pumping into your car was paid for last year. The fluctuation in the prices is basically the oil cabal of North America. And if you think it's bad here, right, we're just now starting to taste what all of Europe pays for in fuel for decades compared to our prices. But they also have lots of taxes. They have much better roads. They have much better policing of their roads, right? They have much better driver training than we do. I mean, they use the gas tax money to do more than make people rich. And it's interesting that we don't have the same level of ability to manage our oversight that many of our European counterparts have developed so far. It's pretty amazing if you ask me. But I could be wrong. I mean, there's so many. Do what you can. Huh. So think about that the next time you're at the gas tank or gas pump and you're trying to blame Biden or anybody for the price of gas. That's not who controls the prices. Can you believe that? Enough people actually believe. Huh. Why aren't you showing up? I know I can do it elsewhere. Okay, fine. I have to go do silly things, so I hate it when I get interrupted doing that in the middle of a thought. Because it is aggravating. Aggravating as hell every time I see one of those stickers on the gas pump. It's like, dude, really? Have you not read a book? Do you not have any concept of how any of this works? Oh my God, really? But once you do, you'll discover that there's a whole new world of reality for you to work with. Then you start realizing that all the prices across the nation, whether it's food, milk, whatever, is all based on what the companies have determined they need to make their bonus, to make their quotas, to make their goals for the year, regardless of what you and I might be experiencing. Right? It's very, very similar to what we're experiencing with Kimwars. Since they are not held to account for what they've done, they can continue to rake in, 8, 9, 10 billion, or 10 million rather, a year in bonuses on $1 million salary. So they're walking away with $9, $10 million a year, while we're paying increased water rates to pay for the equipment that CFPUA has to install so that we have safe drinking water that has, that's where we are with it. So if you want to get mad about something, if you want to get mad about gas prices, at least be mad at the right person. If you want to be mad at Biden, be mad at Biden. Don't mix the two, right? You can be mad at anybody you want. You don't need a reason, that's all emotional. That's all feeling. That's not facts. That's just you being an emotional dweeb. But if you're really concerned and want to do something about it, get a hold of the right, get your information straight, for Christ's sake. Biden has no more to do with the gas prices than Obama or Trump. The political landscape influences business, but it's still the businesses who are reporting record profits year after year after year at our expense. They were still turning a profit when gas was $1 a gallon. Don't kid yourself. Don't get mad at Biden. He had nothing to do with it. He's got enough problems, man. Don't hang any more on him than he's got. But at least read a book, right? Or something. Figure it out. Take a business class or an economics class or something like that. Maybe tax class. Maybe review the Constitution. Nowhere in there does it say the president has exclusive rights over the price of gasoline in America. That's just not a reality, man. So yeah, we're paying more at the pump. And we're paying more because not Ukraine, not Russia, right? There is some supply and demand issues. There is some development, refinement, and delivery issues that could be resolved. I am not going to discount that at all. But I am going to point out that our relationship with the Middle East through the ages is in direct proportion to the cost of fuel here in the United States. That relationship, because of what's going on in other places on the planet, may have an effect on that. So if they're having to, maybe they're not paying more a barrel. I don't know. I am seeing in some cases that it is running more. But most of the time, no. That profit is all business. Look at what Shell is raking in. Look at what Exxon is raking in. Look at what British Petroleum is raking in. That's what the BP stands for, by the way. British Petroleum. And these are energy giants, like insanely large giant companies, right? Billions and Billions and billions. So, yeah, jacking the price to $5 a gallon, that's on them. They're trying to make up the bonus they didn't get 2 years ago. All right, enough on that, I guess. There's more opinion than anything else because, I mean, you can just go to the pump, you can go to the store and realize what's going on. Huh. Monkeypox. Come on now. Did anybody have monkeypox on their bingo card? I didn't. I still had murder hornets. And apparently they've been eradicated, so I don't know. I sure as hell did not have war in Europe on my bingo card. No, I had other things on my bingo card, like the James Webb Space Telescope. That one I'm glad I got to check off. That was pretty exciting. Still is, actually. I mean, it's just getting started. Right? Their mission has only just begun. And you got to appreciate that. I mean, these are the works, they both are, right? So if you look at the supply, refinement, delivery of gasoline throughout the planet is as major of an accomplishment of humanity as the James Webb Space Telescope or the Dragon. Even though the Dragon dropped its load, did not quite make it this time. Sorry. Shoot, apologies to NASA, doing what they can to correct it next time. I mean, what are they, like 23 for 24 at this point for actual working, right? He released, SpaceX has released a number of videos showing the satellite failures before they started charging people to throw stuff up in the air, right? So to have a failure, I don't know if the payload was lost, but, you know, NASA doesn't have any better record than SpaceX, and NASA no longer has the funding to build and supply their own rockets. We have been, believe it or not, dependent on Russia to launch stuff into space. Well, that's not working out so well lately. So, you know, Blue Origin or whatever isn't quite ready for prime time. I mean, all they got is a really nice airplane that does parabolas across the sky. So you can feel like you're in space in zero gravity for about 4 minutes until the plane has to, you know, straighten out. So while you're weightless for a minute, you're going to be weighing 4 times as much once that plane has to, you know, reaches the bottom of its sine wave and has to begin its climb again. All right, so, you know, hang on to your seat belts and your stomach contents because this is going to be an uncomfortable ride. But, you know, SpaceX is probably the last and best game in town right now. I mean, who knows? Maybe Boom Supersonic will surprise us from, you know, out of left field and come up with some insane. We can put 88 on a plane and send you guys to Mars in a week. We just can't do our sonic boom over the moon. That's why I think it's so important for people to pay attention to the little things like math. Because when you understand even just the basics of math, you can start to unwrap the BS, right? Because a lot of BS is wrapped up in numbers, but if you don't understand how the numbers work, you're going to get sheeped, as it were. You're going to get wooled over the eyes like sheep kind of thing, right? Because 25% of something doesn't necessarily translate to what you mean. Going forwards or backwards, meaning it's 25% less. If it was $100, that means that it should be $75 with 25% off. Not necessarily. It doesn't mean that a $125 item is going to be $100. Because 25% of 125 is different than 25% of 100. But people can't seem to figure this out. People can't seem to figure out why it is a 1/3 pound burger is a better deal than a 1/4 pound burger at the same price. Because we're stupid. We don't understand math. The smaller the denominator, the larger the slice you're working with. Think about it. Can you eat a half of pizza slice? Or do you want 1/8 of a pizza slice? And traditionally, pizzas are sliced in 6. So each slice, it gets smaller the more slices there are. And if you can't figure at least this part of it out, you're going to have a hard time with the rest of your freaking life. It's the little things. It's the simple things, for Christ's sake. Using a turn signal. Not that that has anything to do with math, but when you are making a turn, you're doing math in your head. Not that I trust you. But you're calculating if your car can get across that intersection, for example, a left turn across oncoming traffic, before the oncoming traffic mows you down like a kitten. So it's kind of important. The reason why I have such a love affair with math is that it is in everything. There's math in music, there's math in science, there's math in geology, there's math in physics, there's math in chemistry, everything. So when we say like laws of physics, no. What, it's a weird term, but it's what we have discovered about physics that is undeniable. And all of it is backed up, proven, and demonstrated using math. Right? One of my favorite math instructors in college was saying, look, if you're not sure, plug in a number. Right? X and Y, these are abstract ideas, really. But once you plug in a number and get a result, now we can start seeing if this equation does what you want it to do. Functions and derivatives, etc. To understand that level of math is to understand how it is that planets interact and behave, and how our little spacecraft can maneuver around them, pick up speed so that we can get back home from an aircraft, or rather a spacecraft that has lost thrust. Significant thrust, anyway. We know this stuff. And the coolest thing about science is that everything that's laid down before is for everybody to look at. If you find something wrong with it, hey, present it. That's the whole idea. And if the math works out, boom, you get a star named after you or whatever. So it's kind of a cool idea that you have, in the power of your hand, this little phone thing that you can ask it any question you want. Understanding the answer is going to be a different path, right? That's a different story. That's the part that we're having trouble with. And we have a lot of ignorant, uneducated people behaving as though they are the Kissingers. Well, not the old. So Kissinger back in the day wasn't an idiot. Whatever he's been drinking over the last 30 years has obviously done something, because he's not as bright as once he was. And a lot of that has to do with not necessarily, it comes back to education. But a lot of that education needs to be more of an encouraged research. Like maybe you can't write and when you're writing the paper about it, Maybe it's better to talk about it. Hey, this is what I discovered. Here are my notes on it. Put it into English so that somebody else can understand it. Boom. Done. Had it been explained to me like that, I would have been through the English process of college a lot faster. And I'm no slouch with the English language. I'm not, I'm no Tom Johnson, but I can certainly put pen to paper and get thoughts out in a cohesive, coherent, logical, linear manner. But I'll come back to it. Math is very, very important. It helps you budget better, right? Because you got to balance your budget. You got to be able to do basic addition and subtraction. If you're unable to do that, right? The higher functions like multiplication, so that you know how much you're making per hour, how many hours, and what your paycheck should be. When you remove a percentage, that's dividing, multiplying by a smaller number, or multiplying by a sub-number, right? Because 25% is the same as dividing by 4 and subtracting it. But hey, if you don't understand these references, you're going to have a harder time I mean, you might, if you're making enough money and you can just throw money at any problem you have, boom, done. I get it. That's fine. So it wouldn't make it any rougher, but the command of what's around you. Using technology and understanding technology are two different things. And there are a lot of people that use technology without any idea of what's going on or they're end users. The people who understand technology can take that end use and add a lot to it. Check. Hey. No, okay. Silly machine, I'm seeing things here that's not there. So, with that in mind, I think it's telling me, it could be. No? Yeah. That's what I thought. So, with that in mind, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with more of the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad. Don't go nowhere.
Keeping Wilmington informed. The Big Talker 106.7 FM WFBT, Carolina Beach.
I'm a construction superintendent working on a new housing project in the area. I've always loved being a part of a construction crew, watching the plans come to life. But I wanted more. I went to CFCC and trained in construction management technology. Now my skills allow me to have the life I once dreamed of. I make great money and can get a job anywhere. I got my start at CFCC, and you can too. Visit cfcc.edu/trades and get started today.
It's time for today's STEM tip. Okay, you know recycling is important. No one wants plastic in the ocean. Here's a cool way to repurpose a plastic bottle. Build an awesome terrarium. Cut a large plastic bottle in half and fill the base with sand, pebbles, potting soil, and your favorite plant. I chose an African violet. Put the top of the bottle over your base and place it in the sun. Your plant will grow sealed in its own ecosystem. Fun, right? Learn more at She Can STEM. A message from the Ad Council.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. In Bladen County, an argument at a graduation party led to a shooting. According to the Bladen County Sheriff's Office, just before midnight Friday, 2 people arrived at the hospital with gunshot wounds. Eric Clancy died of his injuries, and Ronkira Lennon was released from the hospital. As the investigation continues, officers ask anyone with information to contact the Bladen County Sheriff's Office. Recent mass shootings in Buffalo, New York, and Uvalde, Texas, have many people pushing for change across the nation, including in the Cape Fear region. In Brunswick County, a group called Southport Indivisible held a rally on Saturday in Franklin Square Park. The March for Our Lives rally put out a call to action to people all over the country to end gun violence. And in New Hanover County, more than 200 people attended a rally put together by Women Organizing for Wilmington, or WOW. The event featured singers, speakers, and victims of gun violence. It was a celebration of love in every shape this weekend, according to Dock Street's Pride Party event organizers. The annual celebration benefiting Port City Pride was held at the Husk in collaboration with the New Anthem Beer Project, the Opera House Theater Company, and Duck and Dive. For the first time, a section of Dock Street was closed this weekend to accommodate DJs and local performers. And hundreds of people turned out for the second annual Leland Hurricane Expo, held at the town's Cultural Arts Center on Saturday. Crowds filled the building to learn more about hurricane preparedness this season. The event featured speakers, as well as several exhibits about insurance, flood zones, and other important weather topics, and included an appearance by members of the WWAY weather team. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Monday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Get ready for a hot one here in the Cape Fear. We have heat advisories going into effect starting at noon, lasting until 7, and that's because we're going to be dealing with heat index values exceeding the triple digits the second half of the day. So find ways to stay cool today. Along the immediate coastline, we will be slightly cooler, temperatures climbing into the upper 80s and the lower 90s as well. As for tonight, warm and muggy conditions will stick around as our overnight lows drop down into the upper 70s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Tune in to the WWAY News at 6 p.m.
Thank you for joining us tonight for your news at 6. I'm Hannah Patrick.
I'm Randy Aldridge. We want to get straight to our WWAY team coverage of last night.
For the biggest and most compelling stories that make a difference.
On the scene shortly after the blaze began and has the story now.
Leland is one of the fastest growing towns in the country.
First court appearance this morning in Pender County.
WWAY News at 6 p.m. This is the place.
One Love Tennis started in 2013 to give back to young boys and girls. We now go through 460 kids a week that are learning about life skills, learning to succeed in life through academics and tennis. Putting those two together, if you do them well, you can write your own ticket. To get involved in this program, go to our website, one-love-tennis.org.
Enjoying Big Talker Network is as easy as asking for it. Program your digital home assistants such as Google Home, Alexa, and Siri to stream Big Talker Network content by simple voice command. Enjoy convenient hands-free access to program whenever you want, however you want by asking for Big Talker.
Welcome back to the Asylum. Your refuge in a world gone mad. Exclusively here on the Big Talker Network. BigTalker.live is the website. There's an email link there. You can send us any comments, questions, concerns, critiques, or compliments you may have, because we can only improve with your help. Now, the website also has really cool stuff so you can peruse our schedule, right? When to catch other shows like All Things Brunswick, Consumer Choice Radio, Paul Vallone's program, who will be joining us in the next half hour. Guns, Politics, and Freedom, right? More coming on the way. We also have things syndicated programming like When Radio Was and Today's Homeowner. And we're building, we're trying, we're growing, we're reaching, we're striving, we're driving. And we're going to make it happen. But right now, I'm going to chat with you about something I find to be a little disturbing. There is an error, I feel, in our culture as to what we find important or impressive. Okay? And it's part of it gets me to the concept of a influencer, like a YouTube influencer or whatever. Look, I was raised to really appreciate smart people. Now, anybody can achieve smartness. Not everybody can achieve aesthetic, what's the word I'm looking for? Radiance? attractiveness, right? That's genetics. That's but anybody can be smart. And it turns out, at least in my experience in the now 57 trips around the sun, that people who have aesthetic qualities tend to rely on those qualities more so than the 7 pounds of fat sitting between their ears, the processing center of the brain. Now, my argument has always been, look, I'm not pretty. I had to be smart. And now we have Google on the phone, so you can Google anything you want, right? I mean, it's even a verb now. It has more entries in the dictionary than the word love does now, or life, right? We seem to have a real tweaked out misunderstanding of what's important and what we should know, right? Here's what I mean. Way back in Plato's time, Socrates' time, what was that other guy? Ptolemy, right? All these cats. Back when we had a lot fewer languages on the planet and a lot fewer people on the planet. And we were discovering math, right? And the concept grew quickly. Like from the days before we had, you were counting fish and bread and whatever else, right? And that's how you traded, bartered, sold, whatever. And that developed into what is now our, monetary system. But from that, in a very short order, right, math was being applied to help explain in a language that was common and easily understood what was happening around us. Why is it that we see these stars at this time and these stars at that time? Why is it that was our human curiosity at work. That's the error in our culture. We no longer have that curiosity in what's going on around us, much of which is explained by math. So a basic understanding of how math works, a basic understanding of geometry, a basic understanding is a good place to start. And what's interesting, as you dig into this, math is in places you don't expect it to be in ways that don't really make sense, like the math of music. Musicians tend to speak musical speak. Hey man, that's a minor third. Hey, play the dominant 7, right? All these numbers are references in a language that's kind of hard to understand. But I'm going to go to the actual part that hits your ear holes. You're not hit with a dominant 7. You're hit with a frequency. And in simplistic terms, right, A440, everybody's probably heard that. If they don't, it's a tuning fork or a tuning reference where the note A, 2 A's above middle C, vibrates at 440 times a second. That's the frequency, the audible frequency. Doesn't work in space. You have to have some sort of medium to propagate this wave at 440 hertz. 440 cycles, right? It'll go one way and the other. The tuning fork is 2 arms, right? Like a fork. And they vibrate between them at a specific measured frequency. 440 times a second. Hertz, right? If you take that 440 and cut it in half, you have 220, which is the 1A above middle C. If you cut it in half again, you have 110, right? So 440, 220, 110. You now have the A below middle C. And at 55, you have the A that's on my base. Think about it. It's a mathematical relationship where each doubling raises the note by an octave. It's the same note, one octave higher. To your ear, you hear the same note, one octave higher. So we have divided those frequencies, which changes in reference, right? So, for example, the difference between 55 hertz and 110 hertz, which is one octave of the note A, right? There are only 55 even frequencies, meaning that, not 55.1 or 43.7, and we're going to keep this nice and clean and even to make, just so you can understand the concept. That between 55 hertz and 110 hertz is only 55 hertz of difference. There's only 55 frequencies that would fit between those evenly. However, between 220 and 440, there are 220 even frequencies. You see what I'm saying? All the other notes are dependent on this relationship. For example, A is 220 and A is 440. Between those two, right, is 330. That would be the note E. Half of 330, I would have to do some math because it's starting to get ugly, would be the E one octave lower. And at 660, which would ironically or interestingly occur between 440 and 880, that becomes the note E above the one we started with. You see what I'm saying? This relationship and the difference between them, you have to sort of understand that this is a logarithmic scale. And this is how and what it looks like. It sounds like the same note, but now there are more evenly spaceable frequencies in between the notes in that octave. That's why it's so hard to tune a bass. I use octaves on my bass, the octave harmonic, because I can at least get it up in the register where a small change doesn't freak out my tuner. It has a real hard time registering the difference between 54 hertz and 55 hertz. But it has no problem with 110 and 111. It knows that. It can see that. It can mathematically derive that and tune my bass more accurately if I use the harmonics at higher frequencies. Because there are more frequencies within which to be accurate. That's just one example of math and music that we can take its concept and understand that the relationship of an object to gravity follows the same type of pattern. The closer you are to an object, the stronger its gravitational pull. Which is, the higher you go in frequency, the higher you go in notes, rather, the more frequencies you have to work with between those notes. If you listen to Feynman's lecture on rainbows, I guarantee you, you will come away with a whole new appreciation for rainbows and science. And you'll look at the biblical story again as a cute way of saying, wow, we don't understand rainbows. Now we do. Once we understand rainbows, it doesn't make them any less beautiful. It doesn't make them any less awe-inspiring. In fact, it makes it more inspiring, more magical. Because at this time, at this point, at this place, all of these elements required to make the rainbow appear to my eyes is happening right here, right now. Well, not right now, but when you're experiencing a rainbow, you're not just looking at a rainbow. You are experiencing all of the elements that need to be in place to see the rainbow. So you are experiencing the rainbow. Some of those elements is that the sun is behind you, so you're not being blinded by the sun. There's no way you can see a rainbow around the sun. Won't happen. Physics. Math. If you turn around with the sun to your back and the clouds raining off in the distance and you see the rainbow, you will only see the rainbow at around 42 degrees from horizon, up azimuth, that is. If you don't understand azimuth, I can't help you. You can't follow in your head what it is I'm trying to say as easily as you can if I say, hey, there was a car wreck and the front tire went shooting across the road. You can imagine that. You can kind of put a picture together for that to make a reference. And if I say, hey, and the tire that went flying down the road actually hit another car, causing a second accident, you're able to put this image together in your head. But if you don't understand what's going on, if I said a conductor valve broke loose and was projected through the air and hit you, you can't identify the conductor. You can't envision it. You can envision a tire. We know what that looks like, but if you don't understand azimuth, then by using that term, which is a very valid 101 level term, you can't understand what it is I'm trying to say. So math is an integrated part of the language and has been. We certainly use it as an adjective. Man, there had to be 30 of them in there. There were mini balloons in the package. Bright, colorful by the dozens. But we need to incorporate it into our understanding so that when it does appear in our lexicon, it's not a shock. People still trip up when I use the word parameter. When it comes to doing a gig, hey, we're doing a show, we need your help. I said, okay, what are the parameters? And they were like, the what? The parameters. The what? The parameters. What's my border? What am I working with? What's my goal? What am I doing? What do I have to work with? What are my restrictions? What are the metrics and what do I need to know about them? Para being, above. And metric being meter, being above the meter. Being above the metric. What is it I am measuring? What am I doing? The parameters. And the concept's easy enough, right? I'll use driving as an example. You're driving down the road with a friend and your friend says, turn. You're at the wheel and you're like, okay. You need more information. Turn left. Okay, I have a direction now. Do I turn left now? Do I turn left at the light? Yeah, you're going to turn left at the light. Okay, those are the parameters. I know when to turn and where to turn. DeGrasse Tyson took it one more level and kind of blew my mind with it once, because I knew this, but I never understood it to this level. That we are actually three-dimensional creatures, right? Sagan pointed it out pretty well by saying if you were a, two-dimensional creature, just a little line drawing on a piece of paper, and all you know is what's on that paper. Anything above that paper you cannot see. It has to be on the paper. And he takes this ball, this imaginary ball, and he pushes it through the paper. It's like a tennis ball, imagine you're right? So it's empty on the inside, but the only part that intersects with the paper looks like a very small dot, and then it becomes a circle, then it becomes a big circle, and the circle gets as large as the diameter of the ball, right? Because it's passing through the paper, then the circle starts getting smaller again, then it's a dot, and it's gone. There's no way for that two-dimensional guy to explain what a sphere is, because a sphere is a three-dimensional object, but when it intersects a two-dimensional space, only the two dimensions available at that time can be measured or observed from the two-dimensional point of view. Feel me? So he would have to use his brain to really understand, if he could, what would do that? What type of shape could pass through his environment if he could understand that something could pass through his environment like that. Now, if I say, hey, let's meet for lunch, there's this great little diner, restaurant joint downtown. Cool. No parameters have been provided. Therefore, I don't know when, where, anything. Okay, so Tuesday at noon. All right, so I now have a when. A where? Downtown. Okay, downtown's pretty big. Are we just going to walk around? No, you apparently have a diner or a restaurant or whatever in mind. Yeah, it's on the corner of such and whatever. Cool, and when I get there and I find that it's actually a tile installation sales place, I call my friend and I say, hey, it is Tuesday at noon and I am here on the corner of Wichita. So let's, where you at? I'm here. It's Tuesday noon. I'm on the corner. Oh, it's on the 3rd floor. They left out a parameter. A third dimension parameter. Because we had the X and Y on the corner of X and Y, but we didn't have it on floor Z, which is, on the 3rd floor is about 30 feet in the air. Now, don't get me wrong, math is also entertaining. For example, when programming the idea of a child's building block into a computer, they came up with a very interesting realization. Can you imagine what that was? So they defined a block, a little square block. Not even a soma or anything, just a regular block. We're just going to put our little alphabet blocks together in a tower. Any child can do this. They do this inherently. They have fun doing it. It's a learning thing. It's really cool. And put the blocks together and you make a little stack. So they showed the stack, they showed the blocks, and they said, hey, robot guy. Early, this is like early 70s. Trying to do automation, starting to take away jobs from the automotive industry and stuff like that. Repetitive motion. And they're trying to teach this thing how to build a tower out of blocks. The robot looked at it, or this whole system is a big computer thing in some college joint. Looks at the image, looks at the block, says, all right, and it goes over and it picks up a block and it hovers it about a foot in the air and it let go of the block. The block fell to the table. And it went over and grabbed another block, put it in the exact same spot, and let go. And it kept doing this. And when they looked at the code, the computer did not understand that it didn't understand gravity, right? So you can't build a block from the top down. We learn this inherently. We don't have to talk about the math of gravity to understand that when building a tower of blocks, you start with the bottom blocks. So the way we learn is the same, but what we learn is where I'm going to come back to with the Socrates and the Ptolemy and those cats, right? Is the concepts that they were taught, that they deciphered, worked out from their experiences, right? It starts with 5 fish. You put 5 fish in a bucket. That's 1 handful, right? 5 handfuls is 25. 5 times 5 is 25. So if I have boxes of 5, I can hand you 5 boxes, and without having to open them and count them, know that there are 25 in there, right? Simple math based on the market. So those concepts it no longer requires a person to be in their 20s to understand 5 times 5 is 25. We can now teach that to 5 and 6-year-olds. the logical progression of math, and as pointed out earlier with using music and frequencies and such, we can introduce these concepts at earlier and earlier ages. We can now introduce the concept of counting at the age of 2 or 3. Because the moment they can say me, mine, you can say, 2 of those are mine, 2 of those are yours. Those concepts can be developed at a very early age, so by the time they hit the ability to do math, they can prove it to themselves and discover how math is as important to every concept they've ever learned as it is to the ability to tie your shoes or to know that when building a tower from blocks, you start with the bottom blocks. Simple as that. And it would turn the education system around. Because now you're not trying to cram information into the kid, you're guiding the development of the child's natural, inherent learning curiosity. And sometimes it's not pleasant. I mean, any parent will tell you, and anybody alive will tell you, they did not know what it meant for the stove to be hot until they touched it. And it only needed to happen once. Even if it was before the age of cognitive development, which is, about 4 or 5, when you start understanding you're self-aware and have memories from that. Because that coupling of memory to cognizance is where the real record keeping in your brain begins. But there are experiences you can have before that that will transcend that union. And one of them is the experience of a hot stove or a fire or a hot stick. Just as there is the Moravian response, right? If you have an infant and you just sort of not drop it, but just, lower it really fast, it will automatically reach up and clench its fists, sometimes its toes, in reaction. That's hardwired into the brain. Hardwired. And most creatures have that. Most creatures with claws that can grip, right? You do that to an opossum or a cat. Of course, a kitten anyway, but a cat will, obviously correct. And that's because the cat has incredible spinal muscle control. But that's a topic for a different story. I need to take a break, and when we come back, we will have Paul Vallone join us. Oh, hey, there's a button I forgot. It'll be that one. That's right. So don't go nowhere. We'll be right back on the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad.
Hello, I'm Matt Bennett with WWAY News. In Bladen County, an argument at a graduation party led to a shooting. According to the Bladen County Sheriff's Office, just before midnight Friday, 2 people arrived at the hospital with gunshot wounds. Eric Clancy died of his injuries, and Ronkira Lennon was released from the hospital. As the investigation continues, officers ask anyone with information to contact the Bladen County Sheriff's Office. Recent mass shootings in Buffalo, New York, and Uvalde, Texas, have many people pushing for change across the nation, including in the Cape Fear region. In Brunswick County, a group called Southport Indivisible held a rally on Saturday in Franklin Square Park. The March for Our Lives rally put out a call to action to people all over the country to end gun violence. And in New Hanover County, more than 200 people attended a rally put together by Women Organizing for Wilmington, or WOW. The event featured singers, speakers, and victims of gun violence. It was a celebration of love in every shape this weekend, according to Dock Street's Pride Party event organizers. The annual celebration benefiting Port City Pride was held at the Husk in collaboration with the New Anthem Beer Project, the Opera House Theater Company, and Duck and Dive. For the first time, a section of Dock Street was closed this weekend to accommodate DJs and local performers. And hundreds of people turned out for the second annual Leland Hurricane Expo, held at the town's Cultural Arts Center on Saturday. Crowds filled the building to learn more about hurricane preparedness this season. The event featured speakers, as well as several exhibits about insurance, flood zones, and other important weather topics. and included an appearance by members of the WWAY weather team. For more on these stories, you can head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Matt Bennett. Have a great day.
Happy Monday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. Get ready for a hot one here in the Cape Fear. We have heat advisories going into effect starting at noon, lasting until 7, and that's because we're going to be dealing with heat index values exceeding the triple digits the second half of the day. So find ways to stay cool today. Along the immediate coastline, we will be slightly cooler, temperatures climbing into the upper 80s and the lower 90s as well. As for tonight, warm and muggy conditions will stick around as our overnight lows drop down into the upper 70s. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Our founders expected judges to apply, not make, our laws. I'm Trey Allen, conservative candidate for the North Carolina Supreme Court. More than 20 years ago, I began my legal career by joining the Marine Corps and taking an oath to support and defend the United States Constitution. As a justice on our state Supreme Court, I will continue to protect the Constitution by basing my rulings on the Founders' intent, not my personal views. Paid for by Trey Allen for Justice.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I am State Farm Agent Rob Renz, and I want to help you get to a better place. Visit us online at ilminsurance.com. That's ilminsurance.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hey, welcome back to the Asylum, your refuge in a world gone mad, right here on the Big Talker Network. BigTalker.live is the website. If you would, please send us an email with any comments, questions, concerns, compliments, or critiques. We can't get better without your help. And as promised, we have Paul Vallone from the show Guns, Politics, and Freedom and the director of the Grassroots North Carolina.org organization. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Good morning. Very good. How about yourself?
Well, I'm back from vacation and trying to, put it all back together in my head. The coffee is still a little slow getting to the neurons, but but I'm up. I'm working it.
And from our end, we've been busy because things have just heated up in the gun rights world considerably. Last weekend, let me back up a little bit. Mitch McConnell, Senate Minority Leader, had tasked 10 Republicans to work out a, quote, compromise, end quote, with the Democrats for gun control resulting from the recent shootings, or at least ostensibly resulting from the recent shootings in Uvalde and Buffalo.
Well, normally compromise is presented by somebody with more power than the other.
Well, in this case, as I often say, compromise, as our opposition defines it, is a process under which we lose less than we might have lost under their original proposal, but we still lose.
It's a relative thing.
Yeah.
I like that trick.
I mean, Saul Alinsky said, in Rules for Radicals, he said, compromise is a wonderful thing. It's a key thing because you ask for 100%, you only get 30%, you're 30% ahead. And that puts us 30% behind.
Can I borrow $100?
No.
Can I borrow 30?
I don't compromise. That's why Grassroots North Carolina is a no compromise gun rights organization. We make a point of not compromising on principle. So in any case, last weekend they announced that they have worked out the framework, not the specifics, but the framework for a gun control agreement in the United States Senate. Now, as you know, the House has passed everything under the sun, but the problem being that when it gets to the Senate, you need not just 50%, but you actually need 60%, 60 votes for cloture. cloture being the motion to end debate on the bill and actually vote on it. And because the Democrats only have, it's a 50-50 split in the Senate, they don't have the 10 votes for cloture, or for what's referred to as a filibuster. So that makes it significant that McConnell put 10 Republicans on this thing, because we now have 10 Republicans who have signed off on this negotiated, quote, compromise. That means with those 10 Republicans, they have enough votes for cloture, and they can pass this thing. Now, most of the senators that have signed on to it are the usual suspects, the Mitt Romneys, the Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, Pat Toomey, the usual rhinos, Republicans in name only. Well, two of those rhinos that signed on happen to be our two rhinos, Tom Tillis and Richard Burr, or as I've been calling them, Trader Tom and Benedict Burr. So we are putting a lot of pressure on them this week. And to give you an idea for what's involved in this thing, they're claiming, oh, well, it doesn't impact the Second Amendment, and we won't do anything that impacts your rights under the Second Amendment. Nonsense. Because among other things, what it does is it gives out federal grants and bribes states to adopt what are called red flag laws or gun confiscation orders, in which somebody can decide they don't like you, get you declared dangerous by a court in an ex parte or emergency hearing you don't even know is taking place, much less do you get a chance to defend yourself in court. And the next thing you know, the sheriff is showing up at your house to confiscate your firearms. And these things could take years and thousands of dollars to reverse. And because they are civil procedures, not criminal procedures, you have no right to a court-appointed attorney. Therefore, if you cannot afford to fight one of these things, you lose. Your guns get confiscated. You remain a prohibited person in the National Instant Check System and do not pass go. There are other provisions that they claim are in this framework, although nobody's seen any specifics yet. And as a matter of fact, really, they're only talking broad generalities. But they're talking about improving mental health services in schools and elsewhere, which is, not, at least in principle, a problem. Of course, the devil's always in the details. They're talking about increasing the definition of what constitutes a federally licensed dealer, somebody who is selling firearms for a living, rather than someone who is simply selling firearms from his private collection. The difference being that if you are a federally licensed dealer or an FFL, you must, every time you sell a gun, you must do a background check through the National Instant Check System, or in some cases, concealed handgun permits, or in our case, pistol purchase permits, can be substituted. Now, if you are just a private collector selling from your own collection, you don't have to go through the National Instant Check System. Now, they've been trying to get private transfers processed through NICS, or what they call universal background checks, because quite frankly, the ATF is building an illegal gun registry and using these NICS transaction records, so they want to be able to capture as many records as possible so they can have a proper registry so that when they start, when they become able to ban guns, they know where to find them. The fact is, you can't ban what you can't find. So in any case, supposedly they want to tighten up the definition for what constitutes a private collector versus a dealer. There are other provisions as well, gun trafficking provisions and some other things, but clearly the most onerous we have heard so far is this red flag proposal, or gun confiscation orders. So what we're asking people to do is to contact Tom Tillis today and tell him that if he supports gun control and if he votes for cloture on this proposal, we will come after him, and we will come after him in the next election and beforehand. And so I'm going to give people a phone number they can call, if I may. Hang on.
Yeah.
All righty. Let's see here. Come on.
And I bet more information is available on the grnc.org website.
That is correct. As a matter of fact, if you go to grnc.org, you will find a big red stop sign at the top that says Stop Gun Control. And if you click on that, that will give you messages to tell these senators and where to contact them. But even barring that, most of our emphasis right now, we want to go to Tom Tillis. Quite frankly, Richard Burr is a lame duck. He's not running again. He's retiring. And so he probably, frankly, doesn't give a damn what we do.
Yeah, he's just trying to protect his backside on the way out the door.
Yeah, sort of. But Tillis, on the other hand, has aspirations. And so we want him to know that we will terminate those aspirations, political aspirations, that is, if he votes for cloture on this. So it's Tom Tillis, and his Washington phone number is 202-224-6342. Again, 202-224-6342. 202-224-6342. Call Tillis and tell him that he needs to back off from this agreement, or else we are coming after him. We will be doing a number of things over the next few days. We have a demonstration planned for Senator Tillis's district office in Raleigh, for example. The tentative date, we're having to move this date, and I'll make a little announcement here. You heard it here first.
Right.
We originally were scheduling this for the 17th, this coming Friday. However, we're bringing in a rather special guest to deliver a message to Tillis that stopping school shootings, the best way to do that is not red flag laws, but rather making sure that these are not victim disarmament zones, because basically all of these mass killers are drawn deliberately to places where they know the victims are disarmed. Schools, Buffalo, New York, where people can't get concealed handgun permits easily. So our point is that what we really need to do is we need to model a program after the federal flight deck officer program for arming pilots, and we need to arm selected volunteer teachers. The person we're bringing in to deliver this message is a gentleman named Stephen Williford. Stephen Williford, a couple of years ago, stopped a mass killing at a church in Sutherland Springs, Texas, by shooting the perpetrator with an AR-15. And consequently, he stopped the killings from occurring. So this is a guy who knows clearly what it takes to stop violent sociopaths from mass killings. And it's not red flag laws. It's not gun confiscation orders. And so we are going to be inviting Senator Tillis to meet with Mr. Williford to discuss how they can actually stop this school violence.
I was going to say, all this other stuff isn't going to do anything for the illegal gun transactions or the transactions that do,
No, none of this is relevant. I mean, these people, they underwent background checks. They went through the NICS system. The killer in Uvalde. None of these things have any bearing whatsoever on school shootings. But of course, that is always what the left does. They exploit tragedy in order to move their preordained political agenda to disarm the American people.
Well, it's certainly exacerbated by the media selling cars, carpets, and candy bars.
Yeah. But in any case, the tentative date we are setting now, it looks like it'll be June 24th, a week from Friday.
Okay.
And we're hoping that that's enough time because they're moving right along with this, but I have understood that probably they won't get a vote on the gun control package in the Senate until August. So this should give us enough time to put some pressure on old Trader Tom and get him to back off this proposal. Once again, you can reach him. You can either go to our website, grnc.org, and click on the stop sign at the top of the home page, or you can call Senator Tillis directly at 202-224-6342.
Man, I know you got a busy day today, and I really do appreciate your time. And that's some good information that we need to put out there. That's why we have the Guns, Politics, Freedom show landing every Saturday, replayed throughout the week. So that.
And by the way, I would note too that the show this week gives all of the details on this gun control package, and also does give contact information for Tillis, and tells people basically what's at stake. The show is all about this issue.
You heard it here first, folks.
Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you for your time this morning.
My pleasure, and have a good day.
And I'll see you soon. Take care. Man, that's a lot to chew through, because there's a lot happening in the there's a lot of paperwork going around. And if you don't call, they won't know. And what's interesting is there's supposed to be a representative for you, right? So your call is answered and logged at least. And then the log is looked at as in, hey, you received 700 calls today telling you to back off of, this legislation. That if he only gets 200 calls, but he gets 700 in an hour because suddenly everybody's lighting up the phone, it reflects, right? You may not be able to talk to Tom directly. I mean, let's be realistic. But certainly, they have to log your phone calls, right? Through the switchboard, your phone is logged, right? That call is logged. And then what you say in that log, as in, they have a little, usually I would suspect most of them are going to have a form knowing that, this is one issue for this against this, right? And then go through that and, any other questions or any other concerns? Thank you very much. Have a nice day, because they're trying to burn through, thousands of phone calls a day. But if you don't call, that vote of yours, basically, because how do you let your representative know how you vote? The only way you can do that is to contact them. And they have a system set up for that. And even if you do go to a speaker event and hope to speak to him directly and say, hey, what about whatever, you may not get that chance. But to log your feelings, you just keep calling back. Have your friends call. Have anybody who has some skin in this game to call. That makes a lot more sense than just yelling about it or screaming about it. Because there's something you can do about it. And that is, call the number. Oops. Speaking of which, I got to get that one off of here. And that's one way to get involved without getting your hands dirty, I guess, Because we can't vote on the legislation directly, right? That's what a representative democracy is about. We elected the representatives, and they are about to vote on our behalf. But if they don't know how we feel about this vote, he won't know how to vote. I can't guarantee that he would vote the results of what he is handed from the results of, 700 for, 200 against. Because keep in mind, if he votes one particular way or another, he doesn't get money from one particular group or another. He is being held financially hostage, or at least his campaign is, right? For him to make another trip through the Senate in the next term, he's going to need money. And he can only get that money depending on how he votes. Because people are paying him to vote a particular way or another. That's what lobbying is about. That's why that crap is evil. That's why all of the PACs and super PACs, bad idea. Because you're letting capitalism influence politics at its root level. Right? That needs to change. There's no way we're going to get a actual honest representation of who we are. Because, how much of America is really as fat? And, look at the last two presidents. How many of the Americans are actually represented by either of those two people? People could identify more with Barack Obama and Reagan, right? And if you don't believe that the White House, when worked as intended, doesn't age you, look what happened to Barack in 8 years. right? Reagan was already toast when he got in there, so it didn't really do much to him. But, yeah, it changed Obama quite a bit. He matured at, Trump, he didn't even do the job. Biden, he's just sort of being pushed through and held up by what everybody else is doing, but at least it's not going to start a World War III. We would already be dead by now. I don't know. That's an opinion. Don't go too ape on me. I mean, none of this is working out the way it's supposed to, and the only way that it can is if we can do things like get rid of money in politics, right? No more private campaigns, no more tour buses. What the hell, really? No more slogans, for Christ's sake. But I think we should have a lot more open debates that aren't, what's the word I'm looking for? Moderated by commercial producers for commercial stations for commercial purposes. We have the public broadcasting service. Why the hell aren't we using it? And with the technology we have, there is no excuse to not have online debates with a moderator who can push the mute button. Shut up, not your time. Get money out of politics, increase the number of debates, remove debates from the commercial realm, or require them to be run in their entirety without commercials so that you can't, basically get all the money out of there. You can't sell this to Crisco. You can't sell this to Honda. No, this is our political structure, and it's a public service, for Christ's sake. To get the money out of politics and get the connection restarted into the political spectrum that is no longer about celebrities and prettiness and money, right? If she wasn't my daughter, I'd date her. That's where that's where our idiocracy is coming into play. If we can remove the money so that the influence of Big Pharma, the influence of all these other major lobbies, right? They can still have power and influence by, having an army of letter writers, right? I mean, if the NRA wants to be effective, instead of throwing money at politicians, which would, under my rule, be outlawed, they could write 1 million letters and make 1 million phone calls a day. You would still be able to affect a large group. You can still have your gatherings to redress grievances. You just can't pay people to vote the way you want. That would be eliminated. Super PACs and advertising on behalf of super PACs. No more. No. Now, just about every media outlet in the company is probably gunning for me right now, because politicals bring in a boatload of money. And let me tell you, one of the things that makes this even more nauseating, and once you hear this, you may be more in agreement. When political season comes around, stations automatically jack up their price a little bit. And then they've already sold all their inventory. So when politicals come in, they say, look, I already have a full deck. You're going to have to pay me more to offset some of my other advertisers. So they'll pay 2-3 times as much to offset or to displace or whatever else other advertisers who have already been in the queue. A lot of them are mom and pop local joints. And then here comes Mr. Political Important Guy in a suit. Vote for me. I'm backed by all, it's just like a NASCAR jacket. And they kind of have to disclose it. It's just not openly like the NASCAR guys do by putting patches all over their jacket. And I think you would want them to, right? Have your suit made to reflect all the logos of that whom give you money. That way you don't have to explain your position. We already know. The bigger the logo, the more money they have contributed to you and your campaign and your political pot of money or whatever, and done crap on your behalf. If we eliminate all the finances in campaigning, all of it, no more street signs. I'm tired of those things, man. Driving down the highway, seeing a zillion signs stuck in the ground, that sometimes they come and get them. I mean, there's a rule you're supposed to get them after a certain amount of time. We can't even figure out how to handle guns without messing each other up. Right? I mean, apparently there's another story recently, an 11-year-old and a 14-year-old broke into a gun store and stole 22 guns. This is who we are, man. I mean, let's just face it. Corrective action at this point is putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound, literally. We need to go back to the beginning. And by the beginning, I mean like neonatal, man. Start over with the education. Start over with the empathy. Start over with the connectedness. Start over with the humanity. That's how you stop shooters. You can still hunt. You can still make deer. You can still do all the cool things that you can do with guns, hit little metal targets, all that stuff. But you'll have a better understanding from birth how the world works and the people within it, and how it is incredible violation to be shot or to shoot someone. Until we figure that out, no gun legislation in the world is going to change that. This is a cultural poison. This is a much bigger problem than any legislation. You can't legislate morality. I mean, that's one of the bottom lines. And it's not the gun, and it's not the access to the gun. I mean, black market, if you want to take that as a term, there are plenty of illegal or whatever clandestine guns. And getting guns for criminals is not going to follow any of the FFL standards or anything else. What's the other one? The ATF? Right? It's not going to go through them. Not until after the fact. Oh, this gun was stolen 15 years ago and has been unaccounted for. Has been used in many robberies or murders. Oh, look, now we have it. But we don't know who had it the previous 15 years. It just ended up in this guy's hands. So some of it makes sense. Some of it does not make sense. The part that doesn't make sense is why we're not addressing the personal issues at the school level. Right? We can root out a lot of the problems, as Jen had pointed out, that they had been using, there's a program to educate hairdressers on mental health, identifying mental health issues and domestic abuse issues, because that's who the women in these relationships confide in more than anyone else. Similar programs can be adopted to help define the characteristics of a person that may lean towards being, less loving towards their human buddy than maybe they should be. Anyway, I'm going to push buttons here. Watch this. I'm going to do that one. I like that one. Yeah. And that's going to let you know that I'm wrapping up another Asylum, which is your refuge in a world gone mad, which is why we're here. But where else are you going to go? Huh? Where else are you going to go? You going to go back to work? Huh? No. You're going to stick around and listen to some Consumer Choice Radio and some Guns, Politics, and Freedom. Yes, you are. And we will see you in the morning.
Keeping Bald Head Island informed. The Big Talker 106.7 FM WFBT, Carolina Beach.
This show is also sponsored by Dr. Tony Maglione. Dr. Tony is a cardiologist